Not all harm arrives with pain. Some slips in through the moment your eyes open, too fast, too dry, too empty. And before you speak, your body has already been startled. After 70, the body doesn't always scream. It sighs, it hesitates. It waits for you to notice how you rise, how you pour, how you move from stillness into living. And the way you meet the morning is the way the day remembers you. 1. The rise too fast. Edward had always believed mornings were meant to be conquered. Swing the legs out, push the slippers forward, stand, before the dreams could even finish leaving. It made him feel sharp, alive, like someone still leading the day instead of following it. But the body, unlike memory, does not flatter us. One morning, he stood too quickly, as he always did, and the floor leaned sideways. His breath shortened into a shallow echo, and he had to sit before his thoughts caught up with his heartbeat. It passed, but not without leaving something behind. A tremor of doubt, a question he hadn't asked in decades. Am I rushing what no longer rushes with me? The doctor gave it a name, orthostatic something, blood pressure, a body's way of reminding him that arrival needs preparation now. He didn't like the word, but he understood the pause. So the next morning, he opened his eyes and stayed still, counted 4 long inhales, placed a hand on his chest like greeting an old friend. Then he rolled, brought his feet to the floor, sat with both hands pressing into the mattress, listened. Only when the silence inside him matched the silence outside did he rise. It felt strange at first, as if he were asking permission from a house he once owned. But that house, he realized, was still his. It just had new doors. Now, each day before he does anything, he greets his body, like it's something sacred, not something owed. And when he stands, he does so not to prove, but to continue. 2. The forgotten water. James didn't notice the thirst at first. It didn't burn, didn't ache. It arrived as fog, a head that felt full before thinking, a body that rose slower, as if dragging weight that wasn't there yesterday. He blamed sleep, blamed age, blamed the weather. But every morning, he still went for the coffee, strong, black, familiar. It was the one thing that hadn't changed. Until one morning, he forgot to make it. And something felt different. Not better, just less heavy. He mentioned it to his daughter, casually. She didn't offer pills or tests. She brought him a tall glass of water and set it on his nightstand. Before the coffee, she said, before anything, even your thoughts. He laughed. But the next morning, he drank it. Cool, plain, quiet. It didn't shock his system. It softened it. The fog didn't lift all at once, but it began to shift. His eyes opened sooner. His hands didn't tremble as they used to. The morning came with less resistance. By the end of the week, he reached for the water like an instinct, like something he'd always done, but had somehow forgotten mattered. Now, before the kettle, before the news, before the weight of the world pushes back into his bones, James drinks, not to hydrate, not to follow advice, but because the body, like soil after drought, remembers what it's like to be met with something gentle before anything else asks of it. And in that sip, he feels the quietest kind of healing, the kind that doesn't fix but invites. 3. The coffee on an empty heart. Robert never missed his morning cup. It was less about the caffeine and more about memory, the way steam curled like music, the way warmth filled both hands before words ever did. It had been his companion through deadlines, through silence, through the days after she passed. But lately, that same cup came with a twist, a flutter in the chest, a sourness that rose like an unwanted thought. He brushed it off. Too much news, maybe, until his doctor tilted her head and asked, "Do you eat anything before your coffee?" He paused. Hadn't thought of that. She smiled. An empty body doesn't always welcome fire. The next morning, he hesitated at the kitchen counter. No appetite. But he remembered her words and her eyes when she said them. He sliced half a banana, placed 3 almonds in a dish, took 1 bite, waited, then poured the coffee. The bitterness was softer. His breath didn't catch. The flutter stayed quiet. It wasn't a cure. It was a gesture, to tell the body it mattered before asking it to serve. Now, each day he offers something small before the cup, not for nutrition, for permission, a crust of toast, a few berries, a silence held long enough for his heart to prepare. Because the truth is, we often feed memory before we feed ourselves, but the body remembers too. And when we greet it with gentleness, even the oldest rituals can become safe again. 4. The stiffness. Ignored. Walter had always trusted his body like you trust a light switch. Flip, move, go. No warning, no need for ceremony. Even into his late 70s, he stood from bed like it owed him nothing. Until the morning, it didn't rise with him. No stumble, no scream. Just a pause. A half second where the floor met him faster than his leg remembered. He sat on the edge of the mattress, not from pain, but from the quiet realization that something had left. Not strength, but certainty. He told the doctor, expected a prescription, got a question instead. When was the last time you greeted your joints before asking them to carry you? He didn't answer. The next morning, he didn't rise immediately. He stayed, moved his toes, slow and thoughtful, like they belonged to someone else, rotated his ankles, circled his wrists, bent his knees toward his chest like gathering in something scattered. He stretched his arms, let the morning arrive to his shoulders before he asked them to hold anything. It wasn't elegant, but it was his again. Now, each morning, he gives himself that space. 5 quiet minutes between waking and moving, not to prepare, but to remember that he is still here, still in this skin, still capable of choosing how the day begins. And when he does stand, it isn't rushed, it's reverent. A quiet rising, like someone stepping back into a place he once called home and almost forgot was his. We don't always grieve people. Sometimes we grieve rhythms, the ones that held us long after they stopped fitting, the mug we reached for before reaching for ourselves, the habit of standing without asking if the body was ready, the loyalty to motion even when stillness was all we had left. No one told us those things could hurt. That ritual without listening becomes ritual without kindness. But we stayed in them, not out of stubbornness, but because they were the last parts of life that hadn't changed yet. And so, when our heart raced, when our knees gave, when our sleep frayed into pieces, we didn't question the patterns. We questioned ourselves. We called it aging, called it decline, called it the price of continuing. But sometimes, the pain we carry isn't from the years. It's from the things we never updated as our body quietly evolved. And that realization that we forgot to adjust to the softness our body now needs is its own kind of loss. A quiet one, unspoken, unwritten in the books, but real. Yet even that grief, when noticed, doesn't demand apology. It simply asks, are you ready to come back differently? Not to abandon what you loved, but to meet it with new hands, new rituals, new grace. Because the body remembers. It always has. It's only waiting for you to return to it with permission instead of expectation. Maybe the body never asked for change. Maybe it only asked to be met with presence. Not improvement, not efficiency, just attention. The kind you offer a flame before lighting it again. The truth is, most of what we call decline is really just unattended conversation. A sip skipped, a breath rushed, a motion repeated out of habit, not listening. But the body is not disappointed in you. It is patient. It waits at the edge of each morning, not hoping for a transformation, only a softer greeting, a hand that steadies before it moves, a glass of water before demands return, a small bite before the fire of caffeine. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just a noticing that how we begin shapes how we belong to the rest of the day. You don't need to reset your life. You don't need to perfect your rituals. You just need to return to the moment before the motion and ask gently, what do I need now that I've never asked before? And in that pause, in that small reverence, you'll find a doorway back to your own rhythm. Not the one you had, the one that's true now. The one that waits for you to stop proving and start honoring. Not all healing is loud. Some of it wears socks slowly. Some of it starts with fingers curling once before they hold anything. You don't have to wake like a bell. You can wake like a candle, quietly, without demand, but full of purpose just the same. Let the light come to you, even if you meet it in silence. Let the air arrive in your chest before the world does. There is no rush. You are not late to your life. You are simply being asked to begin where you are, not with change, but with care. The rituals that no longer serve don't need to be broken. They just need to be softened, relearned with older hands, gentler knees, a wiser heart. You can still love your coffee, just place a bite before it. You can still rise from bed, just listen before lifting. You can still be in motion. Just begin from stillness. And if this morning you remembered your own name before anyone called it, then you are already home. We won't ask you to rush. We'll walk beside you at the pace you now belong to. Because slow is not lost. It's sacred. Until next time, take one breath before the rest and take care of your story.